If we're going to bring financial literacy into curriculums and make it more prevalent, we need to upskill our teachers, provide them with the right information so that they feel confident to deliver.
What would you say is more important, the knowledge part or the behaviour part?
Without a doubt, behaviour. When someone says financial literacy, the next words that come out of their mouth in schools, the next word that come out of their mouth is Squirrel Education, right? So we want to be the number one provider of financial literacy education in schools globally.
Hi, I'm Chris Shrubsole and welcome to School Talk, the podcast where we have meaningful conversations about education, learning, and those issues that matter most to students, to parents, and to teachers. With over 10 years experience in international schools, I've seen firsthand the challenges, but also the opportunities in learning today. Each week, I'll sit down with inspiring guests to share stories, insights, and strategies on how we can help shape the future of education. Whether you're here to grow, to learn, or to spark change, this is the place for you. So let's get started.
Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of School Talk. This week, I'm joined by Ben Bolger from Squirrel Education. So first of all, thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
And today we're going to talk about Squirrel Education, about your background and what's got you to where you are today. So crack on. Who are you? What do you do?
Awesome. Look, thanks for having me. Co-founder of Squirrel Education. Squirrel Education is a edtech platform. We're trying to gamify financial literacy for children. We just feel that I think everyone understands that financial literacy is massively underserved in education globally, not just obviously the UAE, and we're doing our best to try and fill that void.
And how did you get to the idea of Squirrel Education? Where did that come from?
So my co-founder, Matt, it was his idea, so I won't steal his thunder, but he basically was running a very manual banking program within his classroom. He basically cut up a load of sort of fake money, told the children to bring wallets into school, and then they got a salary. They had different utility bills. They had like desk rent, they had a school fee, they had textbook rent and stuff like that. And they could bank a couple of times a week. They could start businesses and sell sort of unwanted toys and stuff. But I mean, he could see how much engagement that got. Children are desperate to learn about sort of money and the way that money works within their lives. And I think because they can see it, they can translate like how these conversations they were having in the classroom are going to affect their life. I think sometimes in education, there are a number of things that we potentially learn that children just can't see when they're ever going to use it.
Yeah.
But money's not one of those. And they were going home, having conversations at home about money. And then Matt would facilitate that in the classroom. And that's really important because most families don't talk about money. So that he was just like, I've got to find a way that one, make it less labor intensive for teachers, and two, help or be able to help more kids.
Yeah. Why do you think that's there is no conversations about money?
There's a number of reasons. I think firstly, that sort of fear of maybe not having your own sort of house in order. So sometimes I feel maybe there's like, I feel like a bit of a fraud. I think in my case, rule number one in our household, we don't talk about money, was more because my dad had this sort of like protectionist. Yeah. I want to protect you from the big bad world, right? Me and my siblings talk about this all the time. Like, Dad always used to say, you got the rest of your life to worry about money. And it's like, looking back at it as an adult and now as a dad, I'm like, such a negative thing to say, right? Like, your rest of your life to worry about money. He didn't mean it in that sense, but he was just like,
no, it's only ever done to protect you, isn't
protect
it?
us, right? So I think it's a combination of like maybe not know, like most parents didn't grow up learning about money. So like, are they saying the right thing? Like, have I got my own house in order? Like, do I want my children to be worrying about this from a young age? So it's probably a combination of all those things that has led to it completely sort of being off the table.
And now it's the complete opposite. It's so important. Why do you think it's so important and such an urgent issue in today's world?
Sort of talking to a load of sort of head teachers, and I was like, there's a number of things like if you knew that a child's current lifestyle, they were going to lead to sort of like type 2 diabetes, you do something today. If you could see that they're like, they were battling some issues with sort of mental health, like you would do something right now. Yet we know that 2/3 of the world's population become financially illiterate. We know that 4 out of 10 relationships and marriages break down because of money. Like, people are under-preparing more than ever for future world. Like the wealth gap between minorities and genders is getting bigger. Yet we do so little about it today. So,
so true.
Like it's one of those things where there's such a huge disconnect because we've got all the academic evidence, we've got the statistics that tell us the problem. Yet, like, there's so little done about it today.
Yeah. Even the focus in curriculum is so focused on so many other things that I think you said earlier, they can't really see the need for them right now. But only schools have to really push it from their own agenda to get money and financial literacy into the curriculum?
They don't have much guidance, particularly from education councils and say government. But it's weird, having been out of education, having not walked school corridors for years and years and years, and then getting back and then coming into this world and being in a new school nearly every day, I've built a real sort of empathy for schools, because financial literacy in my world obviously is so important, and everyone knows it's important, but to a school, it's just another thing that they've got to try and fit in, like financial literacy, now AI, now like the UN SDGs, like climate change, like it's just any new agenda that the world needs to push. It's like, right, well, that's the school's problem. We need to get that into schools, and I think we need to help our schools. I think we need to look at the curriculum and be like these are all the things that new things, or what we feel like needs to teach our kids. We're going to take this away from you because we don't feel it's relevant anymore. I went for lunch with a head teacher, and I was like, it's not like we don't want to teach all these brand new things. It's just nothing ever gets taken away. So it's just more and more getting squeezed into the same amount of hours that we've got each week.
And as well, from a school perspective, they're still tested on the English, math, science, the core subjects.
It's the core KPIs, right?
If anything is going to go first, it's going to be things that aren't assessed on.
100%.
But then could be argued that they're the most important ones.
There's not too many subjects other than maybe maths and reading and writing where like financial literacy or having a relationship with money will affect every single child that goes through our education system.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
There's like, you can't say that about every subject.
Misconceptions. So what are the common misconceptions or barriers to implementing these financial literacies in schools?
Like anything, when we want to incur change, I think that people think, right, well, we've got to go from 0 to 100 in one go. And I often just stop schools and say, well, what about if I just write you a list of questions, right? And you can have a weekly debate, and no rights or wrong answers. Let's just see what children come up with. Let's break down that stigma of having conversations about money. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a maths exam where it's like, if I give you £100 and it compounds over 10, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like getting children to explain like the relationship with money and what they would spend money on and why they think saving money is important, and more sort of open-ended questions. I think just starting with that conversation, it doesn't mean that now needs to be scheduled 45 minutes every single week on timetable, and you've got to allocate teachers. And a misconception is like they can't get started unless they've got a full stacked curriculum.
And just that, like, when I left education, or left teaching, shall I say, the best ever professional development I had, there was a guy called Andrew Hallam who came into our school. This was like 2015. And he said, you don't get a pension here. You get your gratuity, which when I first signed my contract, I was like, yeah, that's my pension. Then you get your gratuity, and it's not a lot. But he said, do this, this, and this, invest in this, this, and this, and do it until you like retire pretty much. So I was fortunate, and that's the best PD I've ever had. But I think there's so many teachers here, especially, that don't have any pension. They don't have that because they were never given the tools to do that and investing side of it. So do you think there's a gap for the kids, but also there's a big information piece missing from adults as well? Yeah,
without a doubt. I think if we're going to bring financial literacy into curriculums and make it more prevalent, we need to upskill our teachers, provide them with the right information so that they feel confident to deliver. It's different doing wants and needs with year 3, year 4, because everyone understands wants and needs, but then asking a teacher maybe right for the year 9, 10, 11, like, can you start talking to children about index funds and stuff like that? Then I wonder how many teachers will want to put their hand up to have that conversation.
They shy away, and then,
exactly. So we need to support our teachers. Going back to supporting our schools, support our teachers, give them the right resources, make them feel confident, so that they can then deliver to our children.
Talking about kind of supporting teachers and that knowledge of it, I did an investing course for year 8, 9, 10. And some kids were just so interested. And I was like, this is really, really important. But other kids were like, it's fake money. You've set us up on a fake eToro account. There was the difference between buy into it, I found really surprising.
Well, I mean, if you go back to the Andrew Hallam conversation, right? Yeah. Like, I see a lot of schools, they'll run like sort of investor club and there's simulations and stuff, but there's a disconnect between potentially what you have to do as you're buying index funds long term, like ignoring the noise, not feeling like you got to trade every 2 minutes, versus these simulations that we're running for children in schools, right? And getting them interested in sort of day trading stocks and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the simulation in school, if you say just invest in an index fund, they're going to be like, this is the worst club ever.
Yeah, but it's the right advice, right? And it's what we need to. I think that in a sense, we just need. We'll probably come on to it, but like one of the biggest drivers is what we have in Squirrel is getting children to build the right habits. Like just build these habits into their lives, right? And then get them to park it. Like they don't have, like, this doesn't have to be a big part of their life. Like learn how to do these things, do it repeatedly all the time, and then get on with your life, enjoy your life, and do the stuff that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I read somewhere the best thing you can do with an investment account is lose the password.
Yeah. Sit there
and
absolutely.
Yeah. Share a bit about the story behind Squirrel Education. So bit about your background and where the idea actually came about. We said about how it came about.
So like I said, Matt had the idea. My background, I'm a sort of accredited exam trainer for financial exams now. Hopefully we've got a nice balance of education and finance when it comes to building an edtech product or platform for students. But I heard sort of Matt's story of what he was doing in the classroom, and what was so compelling for me was it was giving children the opportunity to practice. So those habits and behaviors, it's like not just giving children knowledge, right? That's knowledge consumption is one thing. You're like, we can't just have YouTube videos, can give them to children about exercising and eating healthy and think that that's going to transcend into them building those habits. You've got to put them into an environment where they can practice those. So that's what Squirrel is. And that's what sort of compelled me to want to get involved. It's like, well, how do we build this virtual environment so that children practice the things that they can do out in the real world, so that when they actually come out into the real world, it's sort of like intuitive. Like I always talk about, like, I want to get our product to I don't know if you've ever seen the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix, but like, I think he's a coach called Tim Grover. It talks about Michael practiced so hard so that when he was out on the court, he didn't have to think, right? When he'd already hit the three before, like, he didn't thought about hitting the three, right? And it's like, can we give our children this virtual environment so that they've done it so many times that when they're out in the real world, it's like their body's already taken out. I know this is what's right to do intuitively, so I just do it. Yeah, right? That's where we want to go with it.
So talk to us a bit about the actual application itself.
So essentially, it's sort of a two-part. The benefit to the schools is like a schools rewards program, and then that translates into or is added to a virtual classroom economy. So the way I like to sort of describe it is like teachers become sort of central banks of their classrooms. So they give out Squirrel points. Those Squirrel points are injected into our virtual economy as currency, and children, they get paid a regular salary. They've got utility bills that they've got to pay every single week within 3 days. They've got to move money between current accounts, savings accounts, emergency funds. They get hit with different emergency expenses. They've got a budget for things in the marketplace. They can buy insurances to protect themselves against these life events. They can give to charity in line with the UN SDGs. So we're just constantly trying to build new features, and it will transcend into being able to invest on investment platforms, buy property, borrow from the bank, like transact in different currencies. So anything that children are going to face out in the real world, we want to put sort of gamified simulations to that, so that they're doing it 10-15 minutes twice a week, but those 10 to 15 minutes over maybe a 38-week school year, and then hopefully multiple school years is where we're hoping to see that behavioral change.
Yeah. And then from a school perspective, they would come to you and say, look, we're interested in this platform. How would it work from that relationship? We try and take everything away from the schools, right? So in a sense that, like, one of the biggest things that we recognize is there's no curriculum time. So if you were back in your school days and I was like, look, I've got this really good platform, it needs an hour and a half a week, you're going to go, well, that's lovely. Here's a red pen. You find me an hour and a half in my timetable. Yeah. We don't have it. I'm yet to walk down. I'm in new school nearly every day. Yet to walk down a corridor. There's a sign saying personal finance department. So there's no specialist teachers, right? And teachers are already at capacity, right? Like, teachers work so hard. Like, their day doesn't stop at 3 p.m. So, like, for a school's perspective, we're trying to take all of that off them. So like, in a sense, all the teachers actually have to do is just reward their kids. And then once that happens, the rest is taken care in a sort of asynchronous learning environment where we do all the education, provide all the knowledge, provide the platform for them to have that gamified experience. And that knowledge just kind of is drip fed throughout the app? Yeah. So it's all drip fed in line with the OECD curriculum. Yeah. And it's sort of in the moment. Okay. So it's like, we're not trying to say, right, read all this text now go and play around. It's
it comes up a couple of times a week and it will nudge children in the right way. So if they're not paying on the bills on time, it'll be like, do you know that you need to pay your bills within 3 days because this is what happens and this is the benefit, right? Like it's in the moment sort of learning and reflective learning. So we're trying to use our 10 to 15 minutes we know that schools can give us to give the schools the biggest bang for their buck as possible.
Yeah. And obviously this doesn't just happen overnight. Biggest challenges you've had so far? 2
edtech founders initially, the most untechnical people that are probably on the planet. So, and I know Matt wouldn't mind me saying that either. Like the job to build out an edtech platform properly is big. So
I suppose the teething problems are just huge. And if you have a team behind you that are helping you.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, we do now. I mean, so we in the early stages, so we got this idea, right? We want to bring it to life. Like we can't build it ourselves. So we go and use tendering across a number of different companies. We had probably spoke to about 15 different companies, like from all parts of the world. Some people will build it for like nothing and some people want the whole world to build it, right? So then you have to go with gut feeling, right? And you have to go with who gives you that. And we needed someone who or a team that was going to consult us, not just take orders, because we don't know what we didn't know. So we went with the right people. They did a really, really good job. And then bringing on our own tech in-house has just meant that we can accelerate so much quicker.
Yeah, because I suppose you can see something or want to add something and there's just a quick message and it.
Yeah, the team now is like, the from idea to delivery is nothing compared to what it used to be.
And I guess it's very hard to see impact of this because you don't know what kids are going to do in future years. But have you seen anything?
Yeah, I mean, ideally you'd be able to put like a tag on them and you'd be able to trace them into the world. But like the benefit of what we're doing, obviously being a technology product, is that we can, any sort of questions they answer or all the behaviors that they have on the platform, we can track and we can go and see, right, children used to pay it'd take them a week, like on average to pay bills. Now it's 2 days. Like, so we've got all the stats and then we're able to bring that back into really nice, like sort of report cards where we're able to sort of grade the children sort of gold, silver, bronze against the OECD curriculum, both on a knowledge and behavior aspect. So we're like, in terms of data, like we've got loads of data in terms of performance and tracking performances and averages. So that's one of the huge benefits of obviously doing the sort of virtual environment. And it's sort of like, it's in a sense, it's like you wouldn't send a pilot out to go fly planes without being on a simulator. That's what we're trying to create for these children.
What would you say is more important, the knowledge part or the behavior part?
Without a doubt, behavior. I mean, like, I wouldn't want this, but like, as long as the children have got good behaviors, it doesn't really matter whether they know why they're doing it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, obviously it's better if the children know why they're doing it and then they do it, right?
Yeah, if it goes hand in hand, great. But if it doesn't,
the reality is if their budget every month, they save their money, they invest their money, but they didn't know why they're doing it, it's still a good thing, right? So without a doubt, behaviors.
She might kill me for this, but my wife's like that. She's like, I know we need to invest in this. I'm not really sure why or how it increases, but let's do it. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll know why to do it and we just do it.
Yeah, no, I'll obviously advocate, always understand why you're doing it, right? Knowing what to do doesn't necessarily mean that in the times where you need to act, you're going to do it, right? Whereas if you have the right behaviors, right? If you are someone who eats clean, if you are someone who trains regularly, whether it's raining outside or whether it's cold or whether something comes up, those behaviors still take over, right? Yeah. Whereas if you just know what to do, you hit that alarm, you go, oh, it's raining, I'm not doing it. Like, I know it's good for me, but I don't fancy it, right? So the idea is, what we're trying to do is behaviors and habits are greater than just knowledge on their own. Obviously, both of them together is the best.
In terms of that finance, like leading on to the next generation, how does financial education contribute to preparing students for kind of their careers, let's say?
I think understanding money is, it's a cliche saying money makes the world go round, and like not in a sense that like it's the be all and end all, and then definitely shouldn't be sort of tying our self-worth to money, but like understanding the money will allow you to be independent. I think like our biggest thing is like getting children to understand that financial independence is the goal, not like retirement or having the biggest bank accounts, right? It's like, how can you, if you're learning about financial literacy or you in financial literacy and you're educating yourself, like how quickly can we get you on that road to financial independence where like you're not tied to a job or that boss that you don't like, or spending time with people that aren't really your people, or doing things that aren't in line with your values, right? If we can get children where their goals are financial independence. And there's like the likes of Andrew Hallam are sort of showing that you don't have to wait till 65, 70 before you, like the West will tell you that you work until 65, 70, and then you can put your feet up, right? People are flipping the script a lot more because they're understanding how passive income can change your life and allow you to do the things that you want to do with the people that you want to do. So I think that financial literacy and understanding how money works can put you in that mindset quicker, right? And obviously the earlier you start to prepare for that, the earlier you'll arrive there.
Definitely exposure, because Sienna, our eldest, dropped to school this morning. She was like, what job pays the most? And I was like, could be anything. It was like, I want something, because she's obsessed with, like, she wants a G-Wagon.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you've got a long time to wait for that. Like, she's 12. So I was saying to her, like, well, you've got to think, are you going to enjoy it? You don't want to work every hour under the sun and not enjoy work. You'd rather enjoy it and get paid a reasonable amount than that. She was like, why don't I own my own business? And I was like, well, that doesn't just happen. But I guess she, in the school she's been to, has never really been exposed to financial literacy. So I'd say her knowledge compared to some others is quite low.
Okay.
But it's just interesting to see there. But again, she's only 12. She sees nice cars, wants a nice car. But the perspective of her is it's all money at the moment. I just want lots of money.
It's that framework of, I want to get this wrong, but it's the cross section between like doing something that you're good at, doing something you can get paid for, doing something you can impact the world. And there is another one, right? Yeah. But it's like, if you can get to the epicenter of that, so again, like these 12 years old, she's not going to know, right? But like, if like introducing children to that framework, it helps them sort of channel their thoughts and think on the right track.
Any success stories that you've got from kids that use Squirrel Education?
We had loads of parents come up to us and send us like really lovely emails, and we had like WhatsApps of like kids paying, like videos of kids paying their bills on the way to school in the car or around the breakfast table in the morning and stuff like that. So one of the biggest fears I think for a school is like, because it is such has been such a taboo subject, like they're very, schools are very concerned about what parents think. Right. So like, I think the fact that from our experience, when we're saying to schools, like, if anything, parents are going to stop you at the gate and say, thank you so much. Like the teachers, thank you so much for doing this. So yeah, it's, in terms of success stories, like we've had countless sort of testimonials from teachers, parents and students.
Going back to that knowledge part, if a kid comes home and starts talking about why you should invest and parents don't invest.
But surprisingly, the reaction's just been so positive, right? We haven't had one time where a parent's gone, oh, why are you teaching my children about money? Like, parents know how important this is to children. And I think they're grateful that the schools are taking on that responsibility.
Do you think it's difficult, especially in Dubai, that cash is becoming less and less common, that everything is online? The only time we use cash in this house is to pay the car wash guy. Everything else is through Apple Pay or cards or online. Yeah. So that impacts it at all?
That physical process of looking into your wallet, I've got £10 to last me the week, right? Like, and your hand shaking as you hand over like, the kids don't have to do that anymore. It's just tap, 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 tap. So I don't think that helps. I mean, obviously there's a lot of benefits to doing it. I think we just need to, and it's not, we're not going to fight against it. Let's just work out ways that we can make children more efficient, more aware.
The stresses that money can bring to a household, if you're really open about it. I said before, when Joe Woodhouse was on it, he said he spoke to couples before where people are hiding debt from each other. Yeah. That must be so stressful, knowing that you've got this big debt burning a hole in your pocket and your wife's just carrying on as normal.
Absolutely, yeah.
It must be heartbreaking. Obviously, you're doing everything you can to support it from your side. Parents, what can they do to support?
Have a place where money can be spoke about in your household. I think, like I said, that wasn't what I had. So like, it was like, open that door for children to want to explore that, and then just give like any habit, if we can show them the way, that's obviously number one. Like, if we want our children to be kind, well, let's be kind as parents, and then they follow. So obviously act in the way that we want them to act. But then also, if you can give them tangible opportunities to practice and get involved, whether that's, right, well, this is how much we've got for the supermarket shop this week, right? Can you help me stay within budget? Or we're going on holiday, right? This is our budget for the holiday. Help me build the itinerary. Or like, having a part-time job was easier back home. I mean, obviously if children can get sort of part-time work experience, the appreciation of I've just had to work 8 hours for that on Saturday in a bakery. Do you know what I mean? Like is that value of money probably would help. So yeah, like I think if it's like, show them the way, open up the conversation, and then try and bring them into the process is probably the 3 ways they can get involved.
Just out of interest, how does Squirrel make money from all of this?
You sit down and you think, right, well, I want to build an ed tech platform for kids and students in financial literacy. And we're like, so you start looking at all the other ed tech subscriptions, right? And not just, like, I mean, across all different ed tech. And you're like, right, well, this is what the average subscription looks. And then it was like, how can we sit there and say, we believe every child on the planet deserves financial literacy education, but what we're going to do is we're going to build a platform that we know the international private schools around the world that can afford, but probably the schools I grew up going to wouldn't be able to pay for those. But so we was like, look, we've always, like, as a value thing, we always want to make sure that we can offer, like, there's no barrier to entry. So our platform is free to schools. Now that's going to, like, that again, building technology is not cheap. So sort of working with the government to keep that free, and there'll be corporate involvement as well, like from different corporates to help support that and keep that base platform for free. Will there be like a opt-in upsell to schools? And the chances are there probably will be, but like, we don't ever want like any of the schools that we go to around the world to be like, oh, we'd really love to use your product, but like, we can't afford
We can't fit it in.
We can't afford it, right? That was a big thing for us. So essentially, look, we've been working like mad to put the responsibility on the government, put the responsibility on corporates to say, children need to know this stuff. You need to help.
That's amazing. Yeah, really good. And looking ahead, the future of Squirrel Education and financial literacy in schools.
Our aspiration is that, like, Squirrel Education and financial literacy, like, they become synonymous at schools, right? So when someone says financial literacy, the next words that come out of their mouth in schools, the next word that come out of their mouth is Squirrel Education, right? So we want to be the number one provider of financial literacy education in schools globally. So that's a massive task, a massive mission, but one that we're really enjoying, and we're keen to chase that down. So
I think, like, you can see the passion that shines through your perspectives. Yeah. It's great. And I think the key stand-up thing you said today was that if a kid's got type 2 diabetes and you know that you do something about it straight away, there'd be no hesitation. So why are we not doing that? And in terms of age that this is applicable for,
sort of sweet spot, if you like, is sort of 6-7 years old through to 11, 12 years old. Full aspirations are building out from like 4, 5 to 18. And we've got, my Google Drive is just full of like ideas and how we gamify it and bring scenarios to the children. In the meantime, we've been developing sort of like, I mean, I go in and do workshops for the older students, school leavers, university ready stuff. I'll produce sort of workshops for like that year 9, year 10, where they're starting to understand different brands and stuff like that. So like money and me style, like money and emotions style workshop, I'm sort of bringing that. But so the year groups that we're not sort of covering, I've got more sort of traditional style support that we can give schools. But yeah, from the core platform, it's probably that years from age 7 to 11, 12 at the moment.
How would a school come about working with you? How would that relationship start?
Just head over to our website, www.squirreledu.co. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Always love to just send me a message directly on LinkedIn, and love to speak to you. We set up a demo and have a conversation about how we can support your school.
Yeah, perfect. I'll put all this information on the show notes. And
amazing.
I think, yeah, what you're doing is fantastic. I think, yeah, from having seen our own kids not have that much knowledge of financial literacy yet, have taught it in schools and stuff, I think it's such an important thing to do. So yeah, crack on doing what you're doing. I think it's great. Hope it all goes really well.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
This has been School Talk. Again, this is a really, really interesting episode, and schools doesn't cost you anything. It's only going to help your kids. So definitely try and get it implemented if you can. My name is Chris Shrubsole. This has been School Talk. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. Now we're on YouTube, and bye for now.